the Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Mr. Vice President, I'm going off script again, I know, but I just want to personally thank you. We've been through some stuff. We've gone through some of the most complex military operations this country's ever conducted, and your steady hand and your leadership during those was a great source of strength for me. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your character. Thank you for your selfless service. Thank you for commitment. Thank you for being a mentor to me, Mr. Vice President.
It's called the swamp. And you know what happened? And you know what I did? A big favor. I caught the swamp. I caught them all. Let's see what happens. Nobody else could have done that but me. I caught all of this corruption that was going on, and nobody else could have done it. Did I get that one right? Every 4 years, we gather on these steps to carry out the orderly and peaceful transfer of power. Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning, because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people. For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government, while the people have borne the cost. Washington flourished, but the people did not share in its wealth. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first.
This is a president of the United States who is a danger to the Republic.
America first.
He knows he's an illegitimate president.
The oath of office I take today is an oath of allegiance to all Americans.
The great Trump recovery.
America will never be a socialist country. I will fight for you with every breath in my body.
Russia, Russian, pro-Russian, Russian, the Russians.
Russia.
And I will never, ever let you down.
A dangerous virus is spreading rapidly in China, and U.S. officials are very worried that it could come here.
This is really the worst attack we've ever had. This is worse than Pearl Harbor. This is worse than the World Trade Center. There's never been an attack like this.
The time for empty talk is over. Now arrives the hour of action. What they're doing is using COVID to steal an election. Together, we will make America strong again. You know what it's about? Fraud, fake ballots. We will make America wealthy again. They are trying to steal the election.
Now, under the leadership of President Trump, we are fully realizing President Kennedy's prescient view of Special Operations Forces.
We will make America proud again. And watch, please, those mail-in ballots. We will make America safe again. And in millions and millions of ballots, their vote is under what they thought they needed. They're dumping more ballots in there, okay? And yes, together, we will make America great again. Thank you. God bless you. If we are right about the fraud, Joe Biden can't be president.
Congress, the chair declares the joint session dissolved.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Devolution Power Hour. No, we did not coordinate our outfits tonight, but I'm glad we're kind of matching.
Let him in. Let him in on the op, John.
Mine's
Don't
Gulf
lie
of
to the
America
people.
tee from Scales, new sponsor, badlandsmedia.tv/scales. Actually fits me right, which doesn't always happen because I'm just so muscular, you know?
Right.
It's hard to find shirts that can keep this all contained, but found one. So anyway, man, saw you at Gart just not long ago, and we left without a physical confrontation, so I felt like it was a success, you know? Things were good.
That's true. Yeah, it was a good time. I am absolutely exhausted, more so than most Garts, and it was a great time. For some reason, I think it's because I'm in baby mode this year. I had time to sleep in both Friday and Saturday and could not. And then I didn't have time to sleep in Sunday or Monday, but my body wanted to sleep on those days. So I'm still operating probably on an average of 4 hours of sleep a night for the last week. So I need to recover.
You left on Monday, right?
Yeah, Monday morning.
Okay. So Sunday night, me and my girlfriend, we were walking back through the casino to the room, and CanCon was going to bed. And it was 12:30 or 1. And you had to get up at 7 the next morning, if not earlier. And CanCon's I keep trying to tell Bernie Bright to go to bed. And
He did.
To me. He's still there talking.
The plan on Sunday night was to go to bed early, and then I didn't.
You failed.
But I did stay in the venue. My psyop on myself was if I'm in the venue and just have to go upstairs, then surely I'm going to go to bed at some point. But these things happen.
I mean, that basically counts. You were basically sleeping if you were in the venue. Yeah.
Yep.
So funny. Anyway, man, kind of a weird start to the show. We had a link out there, and then it died. Something happened, and so at the very end, we had to redo everything. But I think we're here. We're here. We're queer, and we're about to talk some devolution. So
damn straight.
Yeah. But that meant we were panic mode at the beginning of the show. We didn't talk
John was
about
panicking.
what
I
we're
was
gonna talk
pretty
about.
calm about it. It wasn't my problem.
I mean, you were basically in tears. Basically. Anyway, before we get into that, let's talk about Guard a little bit, because it's hard. I mean, I feel like I say this every single time. Man, that was the best one yet. But it was just a special one. It really was. Yeah. Even with all the bullshit going on, it was amazing, amazingly successful. So happy with everything the weekend. Well, not actually queer player spark. It was a joke.
Well, maybe
just rhymed.
Yeah, I would hazard to say maybe because of bullshit going on is part of what made this Gart very special. It was a lot of returning people, as always. It's cool too. I was talking to a lot of attendees about the mix of going to new locations for Garts, but also doing some repeat locations each year. And the benefit of that is that once Badlanders know how to take over a town, they've kind of worn the grooves. They've worn the Badlands grooves into Deadwood. So now when they go there, Badlanders just kind of know what's going on. So then any new Badlanders, it's a big advantage for Badlands rookies, because half the people at the conference have been there, done that last year. So they kind of know where to go. They know what to do. And every time you run into somebody, whether they're a returnee or were there last year, they've always got all their stuff built around the Gart. And it's always with Badlanders. You see a group of 10 people together driving a Mount Rushmore, and you assume that they all came to Gart together, but that's pretty rarely the case. Usually it's just that, if somebody sees you, if Badlanders see you wandering around a Gart by yourself and you're a Badlander, you're probably going to end up in their car going to Mount Rushmore or something, which is cool.
I was wondering what you were going to say after end up in their car. That could have gone a few different ways.
Like a soup kitchen from... Let's not let it go off the rails this quickly.
Dirty Mike and the
guys?
Boys. Yeah.
The other guys. Yeah.
Dirty Mike and the Boys. That is
John almost set it up with Dirty Mike and the Boys.
Oh, so funny. I did. I got propositioned by a swinger, a young one too, who wasn't with a girl. Oh, that was so weird.
I feel like
I think I talked about
single dude swingers. It's so you mean just a guy? Come on, man. What are you trying to do?
Just a guy reeking of desperation and Miller Lite. It was something else. But anyway, yeah, that's why I'm never going to wear that frayed jacket again. But I probably will. I'll probably wear it again next year. So
See, Ghost has got my back because he said Ghost happened in the bar. He said, to be fair to BB, he communicated that he was tired and didn't want to stay up late. I told everybody that before having a conversation with them.
And see, this proves like why you need to learn to TLDR, because had you TLDR'd your conversations, you would have gone to bed on time at an appropriate time.
Yeah, that's fair. And
probably not have been so cranky for Mrs. Bright.
She would probably say I was cranky. I was going to have a witty retort, but yeah,
you agree.
Been kind of grumpy. But I'm feeling good. There's a lot to discuss. It's going to give me the energy. And we've been gushing about the best part of this GAR was Brad Zerbo's Codex 911, which is perfect because it perfectly coincides with one of our topics tonight. So,
and
just came over the wire today.
And our future of the intelligence community panel kind of fits right in with that too.
Perfect.
Yeah, we'll get into that. There's also been some new releases from John Solomon. This more recent one isn't necessarily a release because he didn't actually put out the documents, but he put out a story about the documents. So it's close enough. We'll read through some of that. It has to do with the Clinton Foundation. I think it's pretty interesting. And he says he's got more to come too. So we'll watch a Storm Has Arrived clip on that. What else? I don't remember. We had more Tesla stuff. Zelensky, obviously, capitulation.
Oh yeah, that's a great narrative, and maybe that's one where we might want to read some excerpts. I found a regime mouthpiece, the BBC, previewing what they wanted to happen at that little meetup, and it's just incredible bit of foresight. And we got that. The Fed governor shenanigans. Trump is boosting. There's
just so much stuff.
Yeah.
We'll get into it. But first, before we do any of that, we got to get a quick word from our sponsors. And I feel we have a ton of sponsors tonight, so we're going to have to
drip them out. Drip, drip, flood.
We're going to have to space them out. But let's start with the Chef IQ sense. And I think that's your video.
Oh, nice.
So I'm going to play that.
Badlanders, it's a nice day here in New England. We got chemtrails in the air, ready to grill with some Chef IQ probes. I'm pretty pumped about this actually. As you can see behind me, I have a Weber grill. That's how real men grill. They don't use gas, they don't use ovens or electricity or anything like that. They use charcoal. So we're gonna see if these probes can handle the heat, and I bought some good meat for it. These are the Chef IQ probes. They're all charged up. They're in like a Wi-Fi kind of Bluetooth container there. I got 3 of them. I can regulate all 3 of them independently. I got my Long Island, as you need when you're grilling. Bikini, chicken, ribeye. And if we get really hungry.
I have an update on this.
You do?
So this was a ribeye I cooked, and they worked well, but honestly, you don't necessarily need one of these to do a ribeye. It's not that hard to cook. But last week, I cooked a Brazilian picanha, also known as a sirloin cap, on that grill. And that thing's like 4 inches thick. That's what she said. But that is a hard one to cook because the fat cap melts to the meat, and it's really hard to tell when the meat is done. Got one of those Chef IQ probes in there, set it to the perfect temp. It even accounted for the rest time, and Mrs. Bright will confirm that was some scrumtrulescent.
That's not a real word.
Picanha.
That is not a real word.
It is now.
Scrumtrulescent?
Yep. I would strongly recommend, especially if you're doing like caps, tri-tips, anything thick. These are your friend. And that grill was like 650 degrees. So they stood up to that pretty well.
Yeah, I love the Chef IQ sense. My kitchen is basically just all Chef Man products at this point. But yeah, the Chef IQ sense is awesome. Amazing. You can get 15% off site-wide as well with code DPH at chefiq.com. That's chefiq.com. Promo code DPH. Some folks are wanting me to show some of the old-timey photos that we took. And I think this is one. Yeah, this is one of everybody who went to take pictures. It's not necessarily everybody in Badlands, because like Zach's not in here. There's a few that weren't. But the fun one is this. I feel like this is a good like metaphor for our working relationship.
It's like you knew it had to happen someday, and you're both excited and a little bit sad about what needs to be done.
I don't feel like I was sad in this moment. But everybody else is like aiming at the camera off the side. I wish I had that full picture. I can't find it.
I'm going to pull up the little side-by-side.
Oh, yeah, Mrs. Bright was missing too. Sorry, Mrs. Bright.
I will say, I look very much like Tsar Nicholas II in this one. So
you're going to pull it up right now?
Yeah. There we go. Uncanny. Absolutely uncanny. Righteous Russia was destiny, I think. And the mirrors don't end there, because Tsar Nicholas was betrayed by Bolsheviks. And there is a Bolshevik in that image if you look closely.
Well, I thought you looked more like these guys. One of the gay Civil War.
I didn't know what this was. I didn't understand this reference.
Have you ever seen it? You didn't. It's here, I'll show you. This is so great. Well, first of all, it's from The Office. Like I'm not gonna find that clip. God dang it.
By the way, Ghost, I didn't dress myself as the Cossack. That's what was so funny. That girl that was yelling at everybody to put stuff on, because Ghost and I went up for the photos late because we didn't know that was happening, and she just gave me that stuff, and I put it on, and it happened to be Russian Cossack regalia. So another coincidence.
Hold on, I'm trying to find this clip.
She just knew. She knew when I went up there. She was like, this guy feels like he'd have been assassinated in order to kick off a century of subversion that would eventually result in the Sovereign Alliance.
So this is the real guy. Confederate and Union, the untold history of gay Civil War soldiers. There's like a whole thing on it. But this is in The Office. There's a clip where they go to Gettysburg. And they're like getting a history lesson, and I think it's Andy finds out like one of his relatives fought in the Civil War, and then it turns out he was like, or maybe it's Dwight, I don't remember, but he finds out he's like one of the gay guys. It's just really funny. Anyway, let's
version better.
Yeah, whatever. Let's do one more sponsor real quick, and that's gonna be Bear Bar. We'll come back around to the other sponsors a little bit. Have we been duped? Probably. We're all trying to get healthier, grabbing protein bars that look healthy, but do you actually know what's in those bars? It's mostly junk. One comparison found a fast food burger was actually healthier than a protein bar. That's why I'm all about this new Bear Bar. It's what you thought you were getting in a protein bar. Real food, minimal ingredients, no mystery additives. But the Bear Bar is literally just beef protein, tallow, honey, and salt. And that's it. All real food, and it doesn't taste like garbage. It's got 20 grams of clean grass-fed beef protein, but it doesn't taste like beef. It's got a light, fluffy texture, not a gut bomb like other protein bars. It's naturally sweet, easy on your stomach, and again, doesn't taste like garbage. Bear Bar got it right. A high-quality protein bar without the junk, and you guys have got to try it. We can get you a 15% discount and free shipping. Use code DPH at getbearbars.com. That's getbearbars.com, promo code DPH. Alrighty, so I'm going to take those two out. Don't let me forget the rest of our sponsors tonight.
Yeah, right. Thanks everybody for sponsoring, by the way.
That's awesome. I mean, obviously things are going well. People keep wanting to sponsor the show. This is probably a record for the number of sponsors we had for a show. Anyway, okay, let's maybe start with, unless you want to read about the history of the gay Civil War soldiers, we could probably start with the John Solomon stuff.
I'm reading about gay history all the time. All history is gay at some point in time.
Yeah, typically, always. I think this is the story, the John Solomon one. I think we should start with this.
You're still on the gay soldiers one.
I know. I'm just waiting to find the right link. I'm just going to leave this up. Here, I can put this up instead. Oh, yeah, here we go. Until I get the video ready. Hold for processing, everybody. Okay, so here is John Solomon. It's like 2.5-minute clip from The Storm Has Arrived. And we'll listen to this, then we'll chat.
Okay, big story here and a bigger one coming tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we'll talk about tomorrow in a second. So this is another example. Last week, we talked about the 3 FBI probes that were shut down in 2016 at the direction of the Obama Justice Department. Famous quote, "Shut it down." Those agents were not allowed to pursue predicated criminal investigatory information about the Clinton Foundation and a pay-to-play scheme. We now learn 3 years later, 2019, in the first Trump administration, 2 whistleblowers, one of them a decorated federal investigator who used to do terrorism financing and uncover all of the al-Qaeda financing for the U.S. government, very respected. They file a whistleblower complaint. It leads to a criminal investigation by IRS. They're moving down the path very quickly. Hey, we might want to sign you special witnesses up as confidential witnesses. We might want to have you work with us. Let's get this case done. And then a full stop out of the blue. We can no longer talk about the Clinton Foundation. We can't talk about it. We're shutting it down. We got the internal emails from the IRS. What was going on behind the scenes at the IRS? They were making up excuses like this. The IRS doesn't have any resources to investigate a nonprofit that might have been violating the law. Now, the same IRS that went after lots of conservative nonprofits in the 14-15 timeframe and the famous Lois Lerner scandal suddenly had no resources when it came to Hillary Clinton and her foundation and pay-to-play and tax allegations. All the documents are up on the website, and people can read them. There is a protection racket that was around Democrats, whether it was Hillary and Bill Clinton or Joe Biden or Hunter Biden. We keep seeing federal agents being denied the right to pursue normal criminal investigations when it came to Democrats.
Yeah. All right. This is getting bigger by the day.
That's what she said.
We know grand juries are formed. We know there's a grand conspiracy investigation. We're going to learn something about a very prominent name tomorrow. What can you tell us?
Yeah. So I mentioned last week that there was a section of those James Comey FBI leak investigation memos that was redacted. I believe because of the good work of Kash Patel, the FBI director, and the Attorney General Pam Bondi, we're going to get to see what's behind those redactions. I think it's going to shock people. I think we're going to see some pretty clear evidence of what the lieutenants working for James Comey were told to do. I think when people see it tomorrow, they'll get a real shock of just how much evidence the government had and didn't pursue. Again, the same pattern, Sean. You get pretty strong evidence of criminality. You don't pursue it when it comes to Democrats or their friends in the deep state.
Do you think we'll be shocked, John, in this community?
Probably not. He basically just gave it away.
Yeah.
What they're going to show. But no, it's interesting. Like the story that came out yesterday was this one. Or this might have been, what day is it today? The 20th. 20th. IRS or Trump IRS seeks to block whistleblower trial that alleges Clinton Foundation tax irregularities. And so there's people within the IRS that are clearly not operating in line with the Trump agenda, working to stop something that could expose the Clinton Foundation. And then it came out today, just a couple hours ago, the IRS began criminal probe into the Clinton Foundation in 2019, but then suddenly it stopped, and they stopped talking to the whistleblowers. John Solomon hinted at a lot of this. And then tomorrow is when we're supposed to get the damning stuff showing the lieutenants under James Comey, or that were there by James Comey, took orders from James Comey, apparently clearly communicated to stop this investigation. The Clinton Foundation, I think, is kind of square one to the corrupt aspect of the deep state, and a lot of the reason why the FBI and the intelligence community covered for Hillary Clinton. They clearly knew there was shenanigans going on there. They didn't want that to get exposed. And then it's also on the flip side of that shows why they were pursuing Trump so hard, because they wanted Hillary in there so that their bad shit doesn't get exposed either. Like they should have been investigating wrongdoings. They weren't doing that. The bias in the intelligence community, the corrupt nature of the intelligence community is kind of going down with the ship here, but it starts with the Clinton Foundation. And I just think it's interesting that it's going back this far. I wasn't sure we'd go there. I thought we might end with like, okay, mid-year exam 2016. This is going back even further. It's great.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, even the fact that it's called the Clinton Foundation, and like you said, it really is the foundation of a lot of deep state activity. I think it works on 2 levels as an exposure template. On an actual level, the Clinton Foundation is a template for how the deep state, launders its money, but also its favors, projects its power through the administrative state, which is part of the whole, the first 2 quarters of Trump 2.0. If there's been a target on the back of the deep state, it's been the administrative state. That's kind of but before this stuff, before Russiagate restarted the narrative, if Trump was really going after something, it was the administrative state. So the Clinton Foundation is part of that. It's adjacent to that, USAID. And so I think there's an education process going on of how this template works on an actual level. But then, to your point, on a narrative level, The Clinton Foundation is ubiquitous in the truth community, whether you're, from Q to Devolution to 9/11 to, Haiti to on and on and on down the line. Going back to the 90s, the Clinton Foundation has its tentacles in so many different parts of the deep state. So I don't think that the deep state all spins out of the Clinton Foundation, but I'm pretty confident that most of the major aspects or vectors of the deep state or arms of it have had those tentacles in the Clinton Foundation or vice versa. And, one of the things we've been talking about for a long, long time is the idea of RICO. John Solomon has been obviously resuscitating RICO conspiracy, grand conspiracy in the public narrative in 2025. And you go back to like Al Capone and all the infamous kind of examples of this throughout American history and DOJ history. And we've talked about going after people for tax crimes, etc. That's the cliche. But when it comes to a foundation, it's financial ties. Financial ties tend to undo most criminal organizations if those organizations come down. And then you get all the discoveries of what was this money for, right? That's all the crimes, but the money is what ties them together. And, we see a lot of that these days. We see money changing hands and people not being super smart about that money changing hands with their intentions. But
very publicly.
This town deserves a better class of criminal, John.
So true. It's so true. I can't wait to publicly talk about some of this stuff. But it goes to show, well, first of all, I found the video I was looking for earlier, so I'm going to derail the conversation for 22 seconds.
Yeah.
And then we're going to come back and talk Clinton Foundation a little bit more. But I got to show you this. This is from The Office. The Battle of Schrute Farms.
You have to understand. Poets, artists, dancers.
And writers, authors, Burning Brand.
These kinds of men preferred peace to war. These delicate, lovely men found a place of refuge among the Schrutes at Schrute Farm. Amidst the macho brutality of war, this was a place where dandies and dreamers could put on plays, sing tender ballads, and dance in the moonlight.
So
there was even a Cossack-looking guy.
Yeah. Anyway, so Clinton Foundation. This came out, I think, the first day at GART, like the 15th or something. Maybe this memo, a Clinton Foundation meeting timeline. The fact that somebody sat down and chronicled their meetings and included the part where Sally Yates was like, "Hey, shut it down," in reference to the investigation. That's just so damning. So like when what you said there about the financial aspect of these things being so important, because you can assume there's nefarious actions going on, but once you see the money and the support changing hands, like you just said, that's like smoking gun. Like you can't walk back. That's
how grand conspiracy cases almost always start.
Yes, you can't walk away from that anymore. And the fact that the intelligence community was investigating some of these financial crimes and the higher ups under Barack Obama, the same people who buried the mid-year stuff, the people who fabricated intelligence and allowed intelligence to be fabricated in order to go after Trump, they're shutting down. It's like on paper here, shut it down. It's just damning. And when we talked about this, maybe did we talk about this on Saturday's Power Hour? I don't remember.
I don't remember talking about this. No.
Okay, I don't know if we've talked about this at all, but
no.
To me, this is one of those things. Like we're looking at this grand conspiracy case, and I'm trying to temper my own expectations because we know there's this huge like criminal element here that needs to be addressed. It's like the huge elephant in the room. It's obvious what went on here needs to be addressed, but I'm trying to temper my own expectations about like how the scope of this could realistically look and how far back they can realistically go. And if we could see things that could actually encompass a Hillary Clinton, and then we start to see things like this, and we start to see Clinton Foundation being highlighted by John Solomon, who the fact that he's the one releasing all this stuff we've talked about many times is extremely notable. He's read it. I think he left with the Russiagate binder at the end of Trump's first term. This is just it's making it difficult for me to temper my expectations because it's very exciting.
Well, I would temper expectations on a timeline level, but not on what's going to happen. I mean, I think that there's frustrations at times with the drip nature of the D class, but here's what I'll say positively, besides the fact that, you know, this network and this community wouldn't have even started if we didn't believe there was a larger plan going on here, you know, whether you're talking about devolution, et cetera, or just the age of Trump itself. Like, we believe it's going somewhere. And what I'll say in favor of Cash and what the DOJ is doing is, a few years ago, when we were in a different phase, if something would come out, you know, maybe it was through Solomon, proxies, etc., something good, I mean, something that was looked like it could lead to justice, you'd get a drip, and then 3 months later, you might get it resurface, and then 3 months later. The drips have been pretty damn rapid since they started about a month ago, right? Solomon's going on there, essentially cutting trailers for the next episode. And then he has been on the money, right? Obviously, he's disclosing this stuff. He isn't reporting this stuff. He's disclosing it. Like, we all know what's going on there. Don't hate the player, hate the game. He's being used in that way. But he is, every time he's gone on there in the last month and said, like, I think you're going to see this tomorrow. We see that tomorrow, right? And that is a big change from a few years ago, where it might be Trump saying, we caught them all, and then you get the hints of a D class, but then it'd go back under wraps. We are really getting that. They're peeling back the layers. They're clearly doing it. We used to theorize that they were doing these things in a pattern, like an escalatory pattern. But now it's clear, and the pattern is building up on an actual level. We can actually see them doing it. And I would just wrap that up by saying, on the subject of the Clinton Foundation, I think what we don't want to get rug pulled on is a timeline of like, oh, September 2025, everybody ever involved with the Clinton Foundation, the deep state's going to get rolled up. But I think the positive thing here is that if they are bringing this up, it's this nest of vipers. It's the hydra, the tentacles, like I was talking about a few minutes ago. It's the perfect entry point, both legally and narratively, to start to get the normie hive mind to peel back those layers. And, you know, you could start with smaller players, smaller crimes, and then, I think the point here and the order in which they'll roll out the crimes associated with the Clinton Foundation is going to slowly lead up the rungs of the ladder, all along the way, provoking the collective mind to say, well, why? And who knew about this, etc. And somebody in chat mentioned this as well. One more point on the money changing hands is the word knowingly. And that's why, right? It's not just that the money legally binds people together. The money implies you are paying for something, right? You have a direct sort of skin in the game. You have direct incentive in whatever you're paying for. So the burden, when money starts to change hands, normally in most legal cases, the burden of proof is on the prosecution. Obviously, technically it still is in these cases. But when money changes hands and leaves your pocket and goes into somebody else's pocket, the burden starts to shift a little bit optically toward you to prove that you didn't know what they were going to do with your money. You have to have some sort of reason why you were giving that money over. And, you know, that's where people start looking into incentives and maybe previous communications with the figures involved. Did you donate to something after making communications that would suggest you, the donator, have a vested interest in the outcome of whatever legal case might be going on here, you fucking retards in the Clinton Foundation? Anyway, so I'm really looking forward to seeing how that goes for everybody involved with foundations and operations like this.
Yeah, man. That was really good. And you made me lose my train of thought. Because
they're fucked, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, get fucked. No, there's something I wanted to say. Oh, when it has to do with tempered expectations, and like, if there's I'm not even going to be able to say this well. If there is this like Grand Rico case going on, which we know there is, we're told that it's happening. We got the strike force and everything happening. The stuff that we're getting, I wonder if they're not even going to have that stuff within that Grand Rico case, because I feel like if there's grand juries and specific crimes and stuff that's alleged, that stuff. Did I just lose you, or you just muted yourself?
No, I just muted.
Okay.
For my typing. I've tried to work on that.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot, actually. I feel like the grand jury and the material they're looking at is probably not the same material that we're getting publicly disclosed, which makes me wonder if maybe, and this is where the tempering expectations comes in, makes me wonder why why we're getting this stuff? Is it like to keep us interested, keep us going? You know, like once a week, they're going to drop out something that is still pretty damning, still very interesting, going to keep everybody like, hey, holy shit, what were these guys doing? But it's not actually the stuff they're going to go after these people with crimes on.
Right.
Because that would make sense to me. Like, I don't think they're going to publicly disclose everything. You rarely see that in criminal stuff until the legal stuff is concluded, or until you get access to the legal stuff. Like, the legal aspect when it comes to stuff like this is where you save your evidence for. And so I wonder
unless
if the
rumors of sealed indictments are, you know, that's where that could come into play with some of these kinds of things. If you're not worried, to your point, if you're not worried about disclosing these kinds of things, then yeah, it either suggests that's not what you're going after these people for, or it suggests like you've got that wrapped up. You've got the indictments you want. You are waiting for either more indictments of co-conspirators, I would guess, on an actual level, or I think more likely at this stage of the game, 2025, you're waiting for the optics, the battle space, to be brought to a certain point before you bring those out.
Yeah, we got a rant from Angie K saying, you mentioned Solomon didn't put the docs in the article. Actually, you have to go to the Dig Deeper tab and all docs are there. I don't think, I'll show you here. I don't think that's in here. New body of evidence links to a different article. Not the evidence persistent narrative links to a different article. Just like these, the actual links aren't in here. There's different articles and everything. Normally when they have actual like PDF drops, they'll include that in the main article. And they don't do that on this one. But anyway, thank you for the rant. And I don't remember what you said now. Dang it. I'm turning to Chris Paul.
I just said that I think that if they're putting these disclosures out now, it's either that they've got that they're not going after these people for these crimes, or that they do have sealed indictments already
and it's already wrapped up.
About it.
Yeah,
right.
It's already wrapped up. That's a good point. It's possible, but I feel like with something like this, with how important, I guess it could be both ways, with how important the narrative aspect of this and keeping people like, you got to keep that pump primed, especially if you know it might take a little while. Might not take as long as we think, but it's still not going to be. I don't anticipate us getting any movement on this year. I hope I'm wrong on that, but I'm just like being realistic with how it's a 10-year thing that we're looking at. I mean, look at what John Durham. One part of this that John Durham was looking at, smaller team, I know, but that was like a 3-year window, 2-year window, and it took him like 5 years to get us anything. So imagine a much wider window of stuff they have to look at, and how long that could potentially take.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know this isn't publicly directly related in terms of the central narrative to Russiagate, but it's funny that you can find yourself like confusing the two, because obviously they're being deployed at the same time, they're unraveling at the same time, and obviously that's intentional, right? On an actual level, these are two different conspiracies or webs of criminality, the Clinton Foundation and the stuff they're probably looking into there, and then the Russiagate hoax. But obviously, you know, on a legal level, they might intertwine. And we saw that Russiagate money went through the Clinton Foundation, etc. But even if it doesn't, even if those webs don't connect on a criminal level, it doesn't really matter. On an optical level, they absolutely connect, no matter what, right? You've got the Clinton Foundation being exposed in this now adjacent narrative in a slowly unfolding web of criminality, right? A pattern of behavior, which is really good for criminal cases. And this was preceded by the idea that the Russiagate hoax, as we have always known in this community, was a hoax paid for by the Clinton campaign. So it's optically, I really think they are deploying these two things in that order for a reason. And I think at the time, a month ago, with the Russiagate stuff coming back around, one of the sort of terms we were using on DPH was that this was the foundation, and this was the return to the start. Like, this had been the start of the story, the start of the Trump arc, and the big question was why. It was the capital why. If the Russiagate hoax was a hoax, when you're trying to explain that to people, what was the intention behind it? And now with this stuff coming out about the Clinton Foundation, and I'm sure much more, people are gonna start to not even have to dig for these answers. They're just gonna be blasted right at them.
Yeah. Yeah, and we said it before, like you have to, with how long the story's played out, a lot of people I think kind of their brains kind of turn off, especially normies, when people bring this topic up generally. If on the left it's like, oh, Trump colluded with Russia. Okay, you've been saying that for how long now? Is that even true? And then for us, it's like, oh, they spied on my campaign, all these things. For us, we like, oh yeah, hell yeah. But the normies are like, okay, well, you've been saying that for 10 years. Where's the proof? You need to start releasing this drip of information, like you're saying, in order to get people like invested in the outcome of this story. And that's what this is doing. And I got to imagine they're not releasing the most damning stuff at the beginning. You don't do that in a story. You build up to it, right? I mean, you're a writer. You might not be a good one, but you probably know how that arc works. Like we're not at the climax at this point. Is that what they call the best part of the story? And I'm just joking. He's a great author, guys.
It's the moment of great change.
Bernie Bright is a great author. I take it back. He's got a book.
The climax is often misunderstood by most people as the end of a story, but it's not. It's like you said. It's the peak in the emotional narrative. It's the peak change event. But yeah, I also saw people in chat saying, we've probably talked about it plenty on the shows, but the idea that this stuff is also all coming out, the Russiagate hoax re-exposure campaign, the D-class, exposure going to disclosure, which there is a difference, and we did talk about that for years on the DPH. This is different. Solomon and them, like the putting out documents, unredacting the names that we've long believed were involved in this stuff, is a different phase of operations. But on a narrative level, you think it's a coincidence that the Russia collusion hoax is being exposed the month Trump is meeting with Vladimir Putin and the arc of the peacemakers is kind of building toward its climax. So when you mention narrative climaxes and plot structure, narrative structure, there's also in technology a thing called an S-curve. And I think what we have going on here is a bunch of overlapping narrative S-curves. We've got Russiagate hoax, we've got the arc of the peacemakers, we've got the Clinton Foundation, and all those S-curves are climaxing at the same intersection. Because as one of the whys that the normie hive mind would probably ask about the Russia collusion hoax is why were they so, like, I get that Trump was their opponent, but why were they so desperate? Why did they make up the Russia angle? Like, what is it about Russia? And now Trump and Putin combined are starting to educate the normie mind of like, hey, we actually always would have had a good relationship, but somebody really didn't want this relationship to happen between our nations.
They did have that relationship. Can you draw the S curve for me again? It didn't look like an S the way you drew it.
That's the S curve right there. Whoa, now I'm just messing up.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. Now it's just, all right, let's start here. You go like this and then up.
I don't think that's right. Because the S curve flatlines.
My screen is flipped, so I can't.
Well,
I'm dyslexic.
Don't think of your screen. Just draw it in front of you.
Okay.
There.
Yeah, then it levels off.
Yes, it levels off.
Nice.
We figured it out.
So I think that's what's going on. We're at the ascending curve right now.
Yeah. Okay, I like that metaphor. You were not good at drawing your letters at the beginning, but now you're better.
The camera thing really messes with me.
Yeah, you got to get used to. You're just in your office, man. You're just in your room. You got swords around you. Don't think of the camera, the people. We do have more sponsors.
My Cossack sword.
Your what?
I didn't. My Cossack sword from the photo shoot. I should have taken that. It was a real sword.
It was a real sword. We had a couple sword fights.
Yep.
Not like that.
Not everybody made it out.
You
guys see some shows canceled. Things got a little.
The old timey photo. I've been to Deadwood so many times. I'd never done the old timey photo thing, and that was a blast. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad we did that. We're gonna have to do it again when Miss Bright's there.
Miss Bright and Baby Bright, we'll put them in. Also, I will say, Ghost looks great in like anything you put him in. He just like fits whatever character it is. I was saying he looks like a newsie from the 1920s, or like a 1700s, 1800s cowboy, or Michael J. Fox.
Or 2020 frat boy.
It's pretty funny. Yeah, 2020 frat boy. He's got a range of characters. Yeah. But Baby Bright, I don't know if we should make him a little cowboy or a Cossack. We'll have to.
I don't know. It might be an Indian.
Decision.
Might be an Indian, man. You don't know yet. Yeah. Don't assume. Don't assume his race. Okay, let's do real quick our next two sponsors. Then we'll do one more at the end, I believe. And yeah, let's do some Brickhouse Whey, because this company's just got pretty much everything you need in terms of improving the quality of your health and well-being. I've used a lot of protein shakes. I haven't used it recently until Brickhouse Whey, because I haven't been working out that much. But back in the day when I used to lift all the time, I would take protein drinks, and it's very difficult to get like a good, consistent, like something that tastes good. It doesn't get chunky and all that stuff, and it's like good for you. It's hard to get all the above, but they got it right with this product. The doctors at Brickhouse Nutrition figured out why whey protein powders fail, and it's typically because poor quality protein plus cheap fillers like maltodextrin, soy, corn syrup, sodium, and cellulose are mixed in. So if your protein powder isn't cutting it, which probably isn't if it isn't this one, you should make the switch to Brickhouse Whey Protein. Brickhouse Whey is bioengineered by doctors, not marketers. It's the new science in protein powder that delivers results you can feel immediately. Delivers results you never got from your previous protein powder. Its clean formulation gives Brickhouse Whey superior bioavailability, delivers professional level muscle growth and strength, a lean toned physique, burning bright, unsurpassed energy, and rapid workout recovery. I will say, man, you didn't look as dad bodish as I was expecting.
Oh yeah, a little bit better. It's because I was swinging
a
the
micro amount better. You were right.
Yeah, you got to start from the foundations, like the Clinton Foundation, and then you trim the dad fat after.
There you go. Yeah.
So yeah.
Anyway, just wanted to compliment you at least once on the stream. So there you go. Also, it's lactose free, so there's never any bloating or stomach upset. Don't let junk protein sabotage how you look and feel. Make the switch to Brickhouse Whey for guaranteed results or your money back. I love that Brickhouse Nutrition does that. They stand by their product. Put their money where their mouth is. Go to thenewway.com. It's clever. The New Way, that's WHEY.com. Use promo code Badlands for 20% off. Again, promo code Badlands at thenewwhey.com. All right, what was your clever retort you're about to say?
There wasn't one. I was just endorsing the endorsement.
Nice. I like when my endorsements get endorsed.
Yeah.
We do have one more, and then we'll come back to the final one a little bit later after I think we should talk about Putin and Zelensky next, just because
I hate talking about Putin.
I know.
And Zelensky.
But we're going to do it anyway. But first up, we got to talk a little bit about Save Pulse. Save Pulse is dedicated to keeping you and your family healthy with top quality medications like amoxicillin, azithromycin, ivermectin, and hydroxychloroquine, all at unbeatable prices. The streamlined ordering process makes it easy to stock up on all your health essentials. And now with exciting news about fenbendazole showing promise in cancer research, they proudly offer this alongside other antibiotics and viral care meds. Don't wait. Prepare for any health scenario today. Get your supply and stay ahead of the curve with Save Pulse. Visit badlandsmedia.tv/meds. Use promo code SAVEHEALTH at checkout to get a 20% discount on orders over $100. That's badlandsmedia.tv/meds. Promo code SAVEHEALTH. Boom. Those are some good ad reads tonight, man. I'm feeling like I wish we had more documents.
You're like, you
could
read tonight. What's going on? You got to be more. You got to be exhausted more often.
I don't know. Well, earlier on my
just
show,
entering a flow state of reading.
On my show today, though, like I couldn't go 2 or 3 words without messing something up. And we're about to read one of the stories I read earlier, so we'll see if I can do it any better. Do you remember back in? It might have even been January, but I think it was like February, March-ish. One of the first cycles of the peace saga between Putin and Zelensky and Russia, Ukraine, and Trump's involvement and everything. Zelensky got big mad. Well, that's not even politics. He got small mad. However mad
in the Oval Office.
Just generally, like whatever size person he is, he got as mad as he possibly could for his size.
Squat and diminutive, but also robust. I will say he looks like he'd fit in Moria or something.
Maybe I don't know what you mean by that, but is that a Lord of the Rings reference?
It's where Gimli, son of Gloin, hails from.
Okay, that's right. Okay,
one of the Fellowship.
Is that the thing under the mountain with the big troll thing?
For there is one dwarf yet in Moria who still draws breath. I think that's that's where the Zelensky arc will end.
Okay,
at some point.
I mean, obviously, a lot of things can fit, and that's a big ass cave, bro.
Just saying.
Like they have a cave troll. It's a huge cave troll. Okay. Anyway, sorry. Apologies for Burning Bright's behavior tonight, guys. Anyway, so
apologies for interrupting my interruption. I think that's what that was.
That is what that was. Whatever. Let me think here. So I was saying something along the lines of Zelensky was upset as somebody as his size could be over the prospect of Putin and Trump meeting to discuss peace without Zelensky being there. He's like, no, there's no deal you can come to without me being in the room.
Yeah.
And that story is kind of being pushed again. There's a story from CNN talking about the peace deal, why Putin is not ready to meet with Zelensky and may never be. I'm going to read just a couple parts of this. Agreement at the White House Monday on the next step, a bilateral meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky seemed broadly unanimous. Then came the Russian response. The idea was discussed that it would be appropriate to study the opportunity of raising the level of representatives of the Russian and Ukrainian sides, said Kremlin aide Yuri Yushakov, briefing. Well, you guys don't hear that. No mention of either leader by name or any indication the representatives could be raised to that level. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov took a more conciliatory tone. Did I say that right? Conciliatory tone?
Conciliatory.
In a state TV interview later Tuesday, we do not refuse any forms of work, neither bilateral nor trilateral, he insisted, but any contacts involving top officials must be prepared with the utmost care. I don't know why this was changed to green, but anyway. This is a war that Putin started by unilaterally recognizing a chunk of Ukrainian land, Donetsk and Lukashenko, or Luhansk, whatever, as independent. He has argued Ukraine is an inalienable part of Russia's own history, culture, and spiritual space, and its separation from Russia is a historical mistake. So if this meeting happens, as whatever Orisha Lutsevic says, Putin will have to accept the failure of sitting down with a president he considers a joke from a country that doesn't exist. It goes on here. Two more things. It would also, she argued, be a huge reversal in tone that would be tough to explain to the Russian people. Putin so much brainwashed Russians on state television that Zelensky's a Nazi, that Ukraine's a puppet state of the West, that Zelensky's illegitimate. Why is he suddenly talking to him? The Kremlin not only routinely questions the legitimacy of Ukrainian leader, fixating on the postponement of elections in Ukraine, illegal under martial law. I almost said marital. So my reading has come back to reality, guys. My bad. But in its latest peace memorandum, requires Ukraine to hold elections before any final peace treaty is signed. That's the key one there. Putin and other Russian officials rarely refer to Zelensky by name, instead preferring the scathing moniker of the Kyiv regime. Don't forget, it was Zelensky who traveled to Turkey for the first direct talks between the two sides in mid-May, only for Putin to send a delegation headed by a writer of historical textbooks. But if you remember back in the day when Zelensky first got appropriately sized mad, both Putin and Trump are like, well, we don't need it. We'll just hold an election there, and whoever's left over can sign the peace deal. Peace is happening our way or the highway. It's up to Zelensky to decide if he wants to be a fag about it or step in line and be the one that signs it. And now that story's being pushed again.
Right. And what's funny about that article is that even though it's regime propaganda, it's, saying a lot of true stuff. It just inverts the premise. It inverts the meaning of all those things. Ukraine is not a real country or a legitimate country. Zelensky is not a legitimate leader of that illegitimate country. And I actually wrote about this a couple of months ago, but speaking of Putin and will he, won't he meet with Zelensky, in June, he said, Putin says he's ready to meet Zelensky, but only in the final stage of negotiations. So the quote is, I am even ready to meet him, but only if it is some kind of final stage, so as not to sit there and divide something endlessly, but to put an end to it. So this is something that, this has been my favorite arc to follow in the info war for 3.5 years. And I've long said that, this is not happening until Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin sit down publicly and hash out the peace deal. And yes, Zelensky might be there, and I actually believe he will be. I won't be shocked to see a rug pull. We've certainly seen seeding of the idea that Zelensky could be replaced. One of the theories I actually floated at GART that I've been writing about for some time is that coincides with if we talk about the European delegation going to the White House a couple of days ago. I think if Zelensky is swapped out, it will not be us. It will be the EU that takes responsibility for that or is blamed for that And that would be a massive red pill. If it's necessary, it might not need to get there. And as for why the EU and the globalists would swap him out, I've long advanced the Our Boy Z theory. I think he's an analog to Biden in some ways. Doesn't have to be. I don't think he was installed by white hats. I think he was installed by black hats. I think he's a proxy president of the globalist regime. But I think he knows that he's between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, and I think he's known that for a long time. There is a reason that on the DPH for 3 years, I've been saying that the people who want to get him out of power more than Russia seem to be Azov battalion aligned Ukrainians. So, including the mayor of Kyiv, Vladimir Klitschko, which we've talked about on the show before. They've wanted to get him out of there. Somehow, just like a lot of Democrats and the establishment wanted to get Joe Biden out of there, they just couldn't ever get it done, right? They couldn't really get him out of there until the very end, where it was catastrophic for them to do so. So I think the same thing is playing out here, and I think that when Zelensky agrees to go sit down with Putin and Trump together, you're going to see a rash of globalist and American liberal media go after him for doing that. And you can respond to that. I do have an article that I think would be interesting to look at about the European stuff.
Okay, please give us a credit.
Yeah, I think your theory or thought on NATO or the UN or whatever European countries being the ones to replace Zelensky is interesting. I think that'd almost be a little too on the nose. Like it'd be too on the nose for them to do that, because that would be them to like, hey, this guy's about to sign a peace deal with Putin, and now our guys, like, we got to get him out of there. We got to put somebody else in there. I don't see it happening. I think it's fitting that Zelensky is the guy that's like playing the, he's like, I'm doing this, I'm fighting this war to like, I'm fighting on behalf of the entire world. That's what they sold it as. We all had to put, Ukrainian flags on our profile pictures on Facebook and all these things. We all had to send money. We all had to donate. We had to watch those stupid PSYOP videos on news every day about how bad this war in Ukraine was. Putin hasn't blinked. Like he went in there, he did what he said he was going to do. He got the territory back, and it's just, okay, we're going to sit here and wait until the peace deal's agreed to. I don't know what the holdup is. That's the part that's still been like eating at me. Not really. I don't really care that much, but it's Trump's timeline. But like, what is he waiting for? Because he said, like, one, this shouldn't have happened with if I would have been in there, if Biden hadn't stolen the election and whatever, this never would have happened. Putin confirmed that this last week, which is baller, amazing.
Yeah.
But two, like the fact that he was saying, like, I'm going to end this war before I even get into office. I'm going to end it right away, day one. Like, he's made a lot of like timeline assertions about when this war would end, and it just keeps getting drug out and drug out and drug out. Now, on Saturday's Power Hour, we had General Quast stand up and say something brilliant about Trump and how he's like wielding the stick of tariffs, and that's how he's like beating these countries back to peace. And maybe he needed to get some of that stuff sorted out first, because Russia's kind of like sanction proof from the United States. Tariffs aren't really going to work on Russia.
Trump has been saying that.
Yeah. And so I don't know if they want something like that to be sorted out first, or maybe it's Russia's allies, or, we believe in the game theory stuff. I guess I don't want to speak for you, but I believe there's like a sovereign alliance type thing going on behind the scenes, and maybe Putin and Trump have been working together for a while. I'll let you speak for yourself though, bro. But that said, still, like, if you want to set things up for future prosperity and all those things, you're going to probably want some sort of bilateral trade agreement where if people step out of line either side, you can affect change upon the other person. And maybe they're trying to work that stuff into the situation too first. I don't know. But the timing of it has just been, it's been kind of a letdown. And I do see Zelensky being removed, in my opinion, before the peace deal signed. Could be wrong.
He could. But the last point you made there, I think that's actually a good explainer or a good theory as to why the timing is what it is publicly. Because I certainly believe that the deals are done. I've been saying that for 3 years. And I think that the proof of the deals having been done is going to be retroactive. It's never going to be officially codified, right? But the proof that the deal was done is going to be if the eventual deal that is disclosed and is publicly signed by these players looks identical to the one that Putin proposed in March of 2022, i.e., I get everything I wanted, like you just said, you get nothing that you wanted. I think that's what it's going to look like. I think there's a couple things going on here. On a narrative level, I think Donald Trump is engaged in a public face-saving campaign with the MAGA base and the American people, not with the InfoWar community. And if you doubt that, you need to talk to a normie, especially a normie MAGA Republican, and start talking to them about Russia. Because we are in a bit of a bubble where it concerns this stuff. Even in the truth community, I still see truthers putting tweets out about how Trump is intimidating Vladimir Putin with B-2 bomber flyovers, and those are the decodes. It's like, if you think that's what's going on, you're a little bit behind. Now talk to like a military veteran, normie MAGA person before you even get to a leftoid. And for all the education the collective American mind has gone through in the last few years about what face-saving is, we were told this with Iran. Trump has very publicly talked about how Iran needs to hit certain targets because that's part of their culture. They need to save face, right? He's also talked about this with the Chinese. So the American people are starting to get the idea of like, oh, Xi kind of needs to say this because that's how the culture works. Guess what, Americans? That's how your culture works too. Trump is face-saving. So when he goes to the table with Putin, he needs to be seen as strong. So even though we're going to be right and the eventual agreement is going to look almost identical to the original one, meaning Putin wins across the board, Trump is framing everything as security guarantees for Ukraine. We're going to arm Ukraine, right? We're going to do all this stuff to strengthen Ukraine, to stand up to Russia. He's talking about the new Ukraine that does not have the Donbass in it anymore, right? Yeah. So like he's saying Putin's not going to take over all of Ukraine. Putin was never going to take over all of Ukraine. But this is going to be the narrative translation to normie Americans, which is 99% of Americans, that Trump was a very strong orange man and Putin was intimidated by him. And the second point is what you just referenced there. If there's an I actually think you nailed it by saying it's about making sure whatever is put in place stays in place. And I think that's what, when Quast was talking about sanctions, etc., and Trump has been talking about it, they're talking about the EU. They're talking about making sure the EU knows they are the ones that stand to lose if anybody screws around with Russia after this agreement is done. Because they're the ones who are right now being forced to buy American energy, as we've been hearing about. Trump has the EU over a barrel completely, and any joint economic agreements with Russia that they're talking about at the Bering Strait, that Bering Strait meeting was a shot across the bow to the EU. Because they are saying, we're going to join Russia and the US economically, which means nobody needs Europe. Russia won't need Europe, and the US won't need Europe. So Europe needs both of them.
Yeah, I had a really good point with your comment for your first point, but then I lost it.
It was a long
listening to your second point. Topic. By the way, when we were live in Deadwood, Ash brought up the drinking game, and I didn't realize how often people were drinking or had to drink. Died. When you talk, a lot of deaths, a lot of drinking overdoses. But gosh, you said, it was something along the lines of the face saving stuff. Yeah. Like looking back at some of these other wars that we've seen, these other wars, like the Iran example is a perfect one. We tell them, hey, we're going to do this thing and get your people out of there. We don't want to actually kill you. We just want to take out your facilities, something that was going to have to happen eventually anyway. And then they tell us like, hey, we have to save face in our country. We're going to bomb you. And so just be prepared to shoot it all down. The face-saving aspect of this is likely a bigger role for all sides involved, bigger than we realize, especially with if they want to play this out in the way that like we're going to operate in the mainstream media battle space, the normie battle space, where Russia is our enemy and this is a real war with a real enemy that we have to make peace with. They have to make the peace deal look like something that fits that story. They can't come out and be like bros on the other end of this and totally, like totally screw over Ukraine and NATO, which I think they're essentially going to do anyway. But part of it will probably be something to, like we said, make sure it stays this way. But it's also got to, I'm assuming, going to fit the normie battle space of like, this is like the best we could do under the circumstances of us being totally enemies, guys. We're totally not best friends, like that type of thing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I want to point people to bookmark this for after the show, But our own Matt Ehret, getting in on the, I'm not the only one at Badlands who talks about Russia. Matt Ehret wrote this last week on the Badlands Substack, badlands.substack.com. Trump, Putin, Alaska, and the future of multipolarity. He pulled some research, some old research of his, and kind of put a new spin on it with the Alaska summit. But essentially what Matt is getting at, and what I was just referencing there, I mean, here's the Bering Strait, right? It's like 50 miles away from the Russian mainland. We had mainstream American journalists saying that they didn't know that the US and Russia were this close together physically, which is crazy. What's fascinating about what Matt talks about here is that the transatlantic, the Trans-Arctic Railway, rather, was planned before the American Civil War between Russia and the United States. And then what many believe was an engineered war breaks out and scuttles all of that plan, right? And they have been trying to get that off track, keep that off track for over a century. And like I said about, it's one thing if you have military might that enforces whatever peace deals and protocols we put in place. But you can't rely on that. You can't rely on America being like the biggest, baddest, strongest dog in the yard forever. I know a lot of people think you can, but that's not always the way it works. But if you make these two countries intertwined economically, not in a globalist sense of the word, but in a mutual trade, if you have open trade routes like this through the Arctic and joint energy projects, which is what Trump and Putin and Sergei Lavrov have been talking about all year, in between their totally real threats to each other, it makes any future regime in Europe or else, or even in the US or Russia, it makes any unfriendly regime to cultivate the public mandate to go to war or separate from the US or Russia is going to be way harder in 10 years or 20 years because of how closely we're working together. So I think that's why they're hinting at all these future projects. It's not just about pieces of paper promising to not bomb each other in the future.
Yeah. I have one more comment on saving face I want to make, but first I want to offer a little constructive criticism for you over on the Substack. Comment from Tattoo Teacher. I met a man at the airport who reads the Substack and had no idea there were shows on Rumble.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know how he fixed that.
Well, Ash has been putting more clips from the shows into the news brief, so hopefully that's being rectified.
Maybe we should put the show schedule or something somewhere on there.
All right.
Like, hey, if you like this content, you could watch us all be idiots on TV.
Well, if you're watching on Rumble and you don't know there's a Substack as well.
Goes both ways.
It's free.
Oh, but last thing I'm going to say on I was about to say safe phasing, but face saving for Russia. If Russia went in there to Ukraine to denazify it, get their land back, all these things, I think one thing, if I'm them, you've been vilified to the whole world for a long time, and especially with this conflict in Ukraine. If I'm them and I'm Trump, you recognize that. You want to give them like a little attaboy, like show people like, hey guys, this is the real reason they went in there. They're really not the enemies you thought they were. I wonder if at some point we're going to get more proof of some of those denazification efforts and everything they were saying. You know what I mean? Because we haven't really seen any of that at all, other than us in our community like digging on stuff and showing Azov Battalion stuff, and maybe there's biolab things in there they were doing. More the corruption stuff. Maybe it ties to the Grand Rico case for all we know, which is very, very possible. But I wouldn't be surprised.
Ties to U.S. intel.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if one of the things that has been taking so long is for Russia to get their actual face-saving reputation repair. I don't like however you want to call it on the world stage, because that needs to happen at some point. Their actual justification for it.
I totally agree with that. I would say the one thing we've gotten publicly is several mainstream media, including New York Times, BBC, etc., exposés on the Nazi problem along the Ukrainian front lines, and when they were having to hide Nazi patches and everything. You know, you mentioned the Azov Battalion, but it's not just because this community's been digging into them. The mainstream media has been admitting that they have a Nazi imagery problem over there, so it's been seeded a little bit. But yeah, I totally agree. In the Righteous Russia series, I think part 1 of that series is called The 3 Stories of Russia. And the premise of what I laid out there was exactly what you said. We think of everything from an American perspective, like the American awakening, etc. But what has been done to Russia, not just actually, but to your point, narratively, mass psychologically, is like the crime of the century, literally of the century. What's been done to them, the amount of death in the Russian Federation in the 2 world wars dwarfs all other countries combined by orders of magnitude. And then that's not including all of the deaths during the Bolshevik Revolution and during the age of the USSR, where the Russian people were the ones being subjugated. So I'm not joking about this. To your point, we are, I think, on the verge of a Rocky IV arc where Trump is basically going to do that. He's going to do that attaboy thing. He's going to play it straight at first, like, oh, he's the big bad Russians, but how does that movie end? And why does everybody remember it as this super cathartic 80s Americana movie? Because Rocky makes peace with the Russians and tells the Americans, like, let him in the gates. So I don't know what it's going to look like, but yeah, it'd be interesting if it ends up tying to the public declassifications here. There's a reason they're opening with Russiagate. So do we get deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole publicly? Do we get some declass of why the Clinton Foundation or the Obama administration, rather, really wanted to demonize Russia? Somebody in chat earlier tonight mentioned Uranium One. Is there maybe some other reasons that they don't want us digging in there? So whatever it's going to be, it's going to look really good for Russia.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. Do you by chance have the ad reads pulled up? Because I'm going to have you read the next to Can, and then I'll come in and comment. I just have to go pee. But before we do that, you made the comment that Ghost just kind of, he's like a chameleon. Doesn't matter what you dress him in. Doesn't matter where he's at. He just fits right in. And I got a perfect picture. There's one.
Perfect. That one, if you just flash that one, you really might do a double take. Like, I'm not sure which
one's the real Marty McFly. Okay, I'll be right
Ghost,
back.
Have you gone back in time and flirted inappropriately with your own mother?
I feel like if he got drunk enough, that is totally something he would do. So,
creepy subplot to that movie.
Okay, you read the ad. I'll be right back.
All right, next of Can. Hey, Badlanders. We want to welcome Next of Can, a nonprofit 503c founded by Randon Dowman. Randon is a Wisconsin native who also played baseball for the Minnesota Gophers baseball team. Graduating from Minnesota in 2023, he'd like to personally invite you to their next golf event at Majestic Oaks Golf Course in Ham Lake, Minnesota on September 6th. Next of Can believes every child deserves a chance to explore and excel in their passions of sports and fine arts. Our mission is to bridge the gap between potential and opportunity. We not only raise funds, we collect donated equipment and provide access to that equipment for those who may face financial barriers. We love providing the tools to allow each child to excel. Badlanders, please join us for our 3rd annual golf outing September 6th, Ham Lake, Minnesota, by signing up a team. If you're unable to attend but would like to sponsor a team, we work with area military members, firefighters, police officers, first responders, nurses, and teachers to fill the teams that are sponsored by others. Last year, we had several of these community members participate, had great feedback. Next of Can returns 100% of their earnings to the communities that it serves. Gather for a great cause. Visit nextofcan.org to sign up, sponsor, or donate to Next of Can to help them provide opportunities for our youth. That's nextofcan.org. Man, where did I was like, where did it go? I met Randon
awesome.
in Deadwood. Very cool guy. I didn't know that was the Next of Can guy until like a few minutes into our conversation. But he is super based. He was like, yeah, we're the rare nonprofit that is actually not for profit. In fact, we lose money. But super cool guy and low key Bitcoin maximalist adjacent.
Awesome. Yeah, his mom's great too. I think his mom first came to I think it was Texas, first Texas event we did down there. And yeah, she's great. They're holding this event next to Can. I'm going to be golfing in it. I got CanCon flying up. He's going to play with me. So we're going to be on the same team for this event. Plus I got a couple other Badlanders who are going to be joining. It's going to be a great time. And then we're also going to be we're looking at, so that golf tournament's on the 6th. I think it's a Saturday. That's Sunday in the early afternoon, like maybe even right at noon, somewhere around that time frame. We're going to be doing a Badlanders meetup at Quinny's Pub there in Minneapolis. So, and I'll head home after that. But yeah, we'll make sure we put something together so I can see the folks while I'm out there. But yeah, I can't wait to golf with CanCon.
Speaking of face saving, how does the CanCon golf redemption arc play out?
I don't know. I mean, I don't even really want him on my team. After seeing how he golfed, I don't know if I want him, but I'm going to allow it.
Maybe if he doesn't have the overwhelming pressure of you beating him, he'll perform a little better.
What we really got to do is we got to golf when we're down at Cocoa Beach, because the excuse that he uses right now is the terrain is different. And so I just got to beat him on his terrain, and then that excuse is gone forever. But if he does beat me, then he has a legitimate excuse. And then we're only going to be able to do Garts in the upper Midwest with hilly areas, so I can never lose again. Because we almost canceled Gart when he was beating me. No,
so
he was
needs
good.
Pristine, flat conditions.
Yeah, pretty much.
Typical swamp rat.
Yeah. No, he's a good golfer. Oh yeah, he also didn't eat all day. That was an excuse he had one time too. Because we went in the morning and by like 1 o'clock we were almost done, but he hadn't eaten yet, so he had no energy. Yeah, we should make a book of CanCon golf excuses. He was too busy driving my black ass around, says Cam Pixie. Yeah. It's another good one. Anyway,
they still don't let guys like Cam on golf courses up in the Midwest.
I think they have caddies up there in some courses.
Excellent.
Just kidding. Bagger Cam.
Let me real quick before we get off the Europe thing.
Hold on, before you do that, before you talk more business, real quick, guys, do us a favor. We're featured on Rumble's homepage tonight, which is awesome. Thank you, Rumble. Got a good crowd watching, over almost 22,000 right now. So if you guys could do us a favor and hit that thumbs up, we would greatly appreciate it. It's very easy to do. It's just whatever you're watching, whether it's on your computer or on your phone, there's a little thing next to the screen. Just hit the little thumb. Thing looks like a thumb. Hit it up or down. If you don't like what you're seeing, you can hit down too. I do it just to keep myself humble. But the rest of you should hit the thumbs up. It'd be great. Okay, now talk more.
Your own standards. There was this article from the BBC, so obviously prime narrative setter for Europe, and I thought it was just amazing. This was right before the summit. No one was expecting this. European leaders rushed to the U.S. to help Ukraine avoid capitulation. So I'll just read this opening section here. I think this has, like, I don't know, soft Devo written all over it. I also think it's in line with a lot of what we just talked about. But from the European perspective, European leaders may have rushed to Washington ostensibly to throw a protective arm around President Zelensky and head off on any repeat of February's Oval Office bust-up. But their real aim is to stop U.S. President Donald Trump threatening long-term European security after his abrupt change of course over how best to end the war in Ukraine. Not only did Trump drop calls for a ceasefire as a prerequisite for talks about long-term peace, but he also made clear he had no intention of imposing further economic sanctions on Russia. In short, the traveling European heads of government, plus EU and NATO leaders, want to avoid not just confrontation, but also capitulation. And this goes further, but I think there's a few saying the quiet part out loud things there. For starters, they say they didn't know that this was happening. All the European media is saying that they were scrambling to get to the White House. So whether you believe that or not, that's what they're saying. It implies they have been completely cut out of these communications, but Zelensky has not been. So kind of interesting for their proxy to not be telling them about his meetings with Donald Trump, right? That's what they're saying. And then second, they're using the word capitulation, which we've been writing about and talking about on the show for years. And I think it's interesting that even to the normie hive mind, especially in Europe, they are admitting that this peace deal, I think it's a Freudian slip. They're saying the peace deal threatens European security. And I would agree with them because the NATO bloc is defined by its ability to keep proxy states and proxy wars going. And if they lose those, they no longer exist. And there's no longer any need for them. Even earnest Europeans will no longer see NATO as a bloc if they were not able to get any power projection in this theater. That was the only thing they exist for. So they're worried about the optics of it.
Yeah, what happens to Europe and NATO when this war gets resolved in a fashion that doesn't benefit them, and they can't like keep using Ukraine for color revolutions and all these Eastern European countries for color revolutions? What happens though to Europe? Because I don't know how they continue to move forward and exist and like operate. Like their financials are bad enough the way it is. Their illegal immigration is bad enough the way it is, and now they're losing this too. Like they're screwed.
Yeah. Yeah, and as a block, my prediction on this, I think we've gotten hints of it in the central narrative. I believe the first country to leave NATO is going to be Hungary. Viktor Orban in Hungary. And yeah, like you said, on the back of this, he's going to be, I think, the first to step out and say, you're corrupt. And then even if you did have a use at one point in time, obviously you no longer do. And once that happens, you know, to your point about the immigration and everything, we're seeing real unrest over in the UK and in France and in Germany about that situation. It's all kind of coming together. I hope it doesn't spiral. Like, I truly hope it doesn't spiral too crazy. But, you know, you got to think one or two of these European leaders are going to step out of line. And it's probably the ones that the rest of Europe have been accusing of being too friendly with Russia the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Anyway, I do want to move off this topic, but I don't know what else to move to. We could talk. There's
what about the Tulsi?
The Tulsi thing is interesting. We also have the some election shenanigans and potential things. We talked a little bit about Trump. Let's do this first, then we'll go to that. Okay. To Tulsi. We talked a little bit on Saturday's live Power Hour about Trump's True Social Post. At least I think we did. We did, didn't we? The True Social Post talking about election machines and whatnot.
Right.
Yeah. So
on Saturday.
We read that post. It's an awesome post. I'm very curious to see what Trump does with that. I was talking about my show today where, and this has kind of been the thought process for a while now, is like Trump can do as much as he can, but it's still up to the states to implement their elections, right? So like he's going to implement all these reforms. All the Republican states are going to follow suit, and we're going to fix elections and whatever that even means in Republican states, but all the blue states are still going to continue to do the bullshit they always do. So how do we address that? I'm curious to see what he does. But there's a very interesting article that came out today on in LA Times, and it's on The Guardian. But there's money for LA County voting machines that ended up in bribery slush
you
fund.
psyched yourself out, man.
Feds allege. Yes, I did.
Like CanCon on the back nine.
Exactly. An election technology firm allegedly overbilled LA County for voting machines used during the 2020 election and funneled the extra cash into a slush fund for bribing government officials, federal prosecutors say in a criminal case against 3 company executives. Now, what is fascinating about this is there's actually a lawsuit here, a new court filing. I'm going to pull this up and show you guys. I won't actually like read the whole thing here, but Smartmatic has been at the center of some major cases in other foreign countries and how they're like bribing and doing all these things with elections and how they're stealing elections and whatnot. I wrote an article about LA County and Dean Logan and his ties to Smartmatic and one of the potential vectors for election reform and exposure of election machines. It's dirty. It's nasty. LA County is like one of the worst countries in the United States. It's one of the biggest counties in the United States. And now they're on a radar in a filing from the United States. Like this is a United States DOJ filing talking about Smartmatic and their corruption ties. Let me just read this first part. In or around 2019, defendant Vasquez transferred additional funds to the Rue Slush Fund from a contract between Company One, Smartmatic, and Los Angeles County for the former to provide voting machines for the 2020 elections. Government intends to introduce evidence of the slush fund scheme involving non-Philippine election contracts as being inextricably intertwined with the charged conduct. It's like they're effed once this stuff like reaches its logical conclusion, but it's just a matter of when that conclusion comes and they expose the machines and how bad they are. How do we get these blue states? And it's not just them, it's the uniparty generally. How do we get the people that are beneficiaries of the fraudulent election system and the machines to finally rip off the band-aid and be like, okay, you caught us. We're going to stop using the machines? Because I feel like it's going to take a lot, and I feel like it's not going to happen if Trump isn't able to actually force them to do so.
Yeah, I think a couple of points on it. Number one, speaking of all the, we've been talking a lot tonight about the fact that all these narratives are kind of converging, you know, on the Russia stuff, especially Clinton Foundation. Well, with this, isn't it kind of interesting that Gavin Newsom is being force-fed into the normie hive mind in the most cartoonishly mimetic fashion?
So
like all
stupid.
these posts that Newsom is making and everything. I keep thinking that they're jokes. I keep thinking that they're memes about him. But it's him that, you know, he's trying to do the hello fellow kids thing. It feels like somebody is making him post this shit. But I think it's interesting that Newsom is definitely being pushed into the forefront of the collective mind. And then Trump is talking about LA County and voting machines and all this kind of stuff, right?
Mail-in ballots,
but
yep.
yeah, the mail-in ballots, and obviously watch California and all that. To your point of what would the actions be, kind of actually reminds me of our Ukraine segment there. Might we be looking at a situation of referendums in these states? Like that might be the pathway. Maybe there's a lot of other pathways that I just don't even know about, and that Ash and CanCon would know more. But
Ash,
you know,
yeah.
if you're looking for not just legally, constitutionally, but even optically, the best position for Trump to be in, he doesn't want to be seen lording over individual states unless it's got to do with the federal election, right? That obviously makes sense because you're violating the Constitution and you're violating the rights of the other states in the Union. But he doesn't want to go into California and depose a governor. That's like Civil War rhetoric is going to get thrown around. But if it can be provoked from within California, and then if you do fix the voting machine issue or the election issue in general, and then you call a referendum in California, that's a pathway I could see happening. And then you repeat that model in some of these other states.
Yeah. I wonder if they could implement a new election system. Like, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, and this is going to come off as heresy to Ash, so earmuffs, Ash, if you're listening. Let's just say, hypothetically, Trump's like, okay, guys, the mail-in ballot stuff, we can't do it anymore. And I have a great Mark Elias clip I got to show you, too, freaking out about Trump's post. But let's just say he's like, okay, we can't do it anymore. We are going to implement a blockchain voting system. It's been tested. It's great. We're going to do it. We're going to implement it nationwide. And the states, it'll still be up to the states to run the blockchain voting system in their state. But I wonder if he can force them to change what system they use or something along those lines. You know what I mean? Or if like all these states, like 26, 27 states are going to be using blockchain voting or whatever new system it is. And the other states are sticking to the old mail-in ballots, machines, and fraudulence abound.
I just don't think that, I can't think that there would be a way for him to implement that on state elections. Definitely on anything with federal implications. Now, I'm not talking about it from the perspective of Patriot plans and maybe stuff going on behind the scenes, but in terms of publicly what we're going to be told about, I doubt that he's going to enforce election protocols on state elections.
I don't see it either.
But de facto, that's what you're doing. If you do force that changeover, whatever the new system looks like on a federal level, how on earth can you keep the public mandate in these states to not reproduce that at the state level? The key for me, whether you're talking about blockchain or whatever, the key for me of elections is that elections need to be publicly auditable. They need to be decentralized, and every citizen needs to have the power and ability to audit their own election. You know, we can't have cyber ninjas that we need to go in there and count stuff when we watch them on a live stream for 6 months. Like, that's not an audit. That's outsourcing trust to third parties who are then telling us that they're going to audit the other third parties. This is obvious to all of us, but that's what you need. And, you know, that point would be if you end up getting that on the federal level and people get used to that, and then they're like, wait a second, how come my governor doesn't have this same system that's completely open, decentralized, and auditable on the federal level?
Yeah. I want to play this clip here. I'm probably not going to play the whole thing because it's pretty long, but just to show you, this guy is not only like the face of the Democrat election fraud infrastructure, Mark Elias, but remember, he was working with Perkins Coie This guy is totally wrapped into the grand conspiracy. This guy was basically how Hillary Clinton was running her entire scheme in vilifying Trump by connecting him to Russia. They paid the Alpha Bank guys and Joffe. They were the ones who paid that. It was his firm who purchased the Steele dossier and purchased or funded that entire research. He's screwed. At the end of this, if this guy is not in jail, I'd be very surprised. So clearly he's like panicked, whatever. But he's talking about Trump's post, and I think it's interesting and kind of funny.
More than 48 hours since Donald Trump posted on social media that he is going to try to ban mail-in votes and to try to take over the counting and tabulation of votes in the 2026 election. Where is the outrage? Hi, this is Mark Elias, founder of Democracy Docket. And when Donald Trump posted on social media that he was going to lead a movement to ban mail-in voting, which would disenfranchise tens of millions of American voters, and even worse, that he wanted states to defer to him alone, in the counting and tabulating of votes in 2026, I expected that there would be a firestorm reaction.
You can never have a real democracy with mail-in ballots.
I assumed that the legacy media would treat this as the top story for days while it unpacked what was behind this, what he is up to, what we can expect to be coming down the road. I thought that this would be treated as the 5-alarm fire that it is. Well, I was wrong. Instead, it seems like this is once again being dismissed by too many people as just Donald Trump being Donald Trump. That is just a social media post, but that he doesn't really mean it. That, we need to take him in, as some conservatives say, we need to take him seriously, but not literally. I mean, if we have gotten ourselves in trouble over anything, it has been listening to those people who say, don't take him literally. This is not a political stunt. This is not just some minor issue in which he is trying to be provocative. This should be top of mind for every political leader, every civic institution, for everyday Americans. We should all be planning for this to happen because Donald Trump has done this before. Now,
that's plenty, I think. But yeah, he's clearly upset. Previously, he's like, you guys should not be talking about the Russiagate stuff. Media, don't talk about it. Now he's like, you guys should be talking about the mail-in ballot post that Trump made.
Pure narrative engineering, and it's good to see it a public. I found another clip of him. I don't know if you saw this one.
Is it a real one or a fake one?
Yeah, it's a real one.
Not exactly. But am I not turtly enough for the Turtle Club?
Is he okay?
He's fine. He's fine, Turtle. Turtle.
He's dreamt of this place ever since he...
That's enough. I actually watched that movie with my kids like, gosh, a month or two ago or something.
That's the one. I didn't know that movie was in my brain anywhere. And it turns out that Elias clip just brought it right back.
You guys should do it for Story Hour.
Yeah. We'll do... I'm sure it's horrible, but... I mean, it's narrative. No, I've seen it. I just don't remember.
Okay. I think
I didn't know it was in my memory bank somewhere, but Elias brought it out. Yeah, it's narrative engineering, and it's funny to contrast those two things, like you said. It's like, don't talk about this, do talk about this. Or like, actually, we're going to talk about it even harder now.
Yeah, it's nothing else we're going to talk about. But yeah, I'm curious. Like, Trump saying he's going to lead the charge on fixing this. He doesn't specifically say he's going to do it with executive action. I assume he's going to have to do something. Like, he's done a few things. Like, there's a few little things out there that he's done that has been a good start. But I don't know. I'm just, for some reason, when it comes to this, to me, it's the number one issue that we have as a country because of how many things this affects. I've said that so many times. I feel like it's going to take something borderline unconstitutional. Like, there's going to have to be some sort of legal challenge to this that reaches the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court's going to have to make the decision like, yeah, Trump can do this because there's fraud. And I think you might have to show evidence of fraud in some sort of action like that to get the Supreme Court to be willing to change. And none of the evidence from 2020 has ever reached the Supreme Court. We've said that many times, no standing. Well, now maybe he'll implement some sort of executive action that gives him standing and can show some of that evidence and why the changes need to be made. So we'll see.
Yeah, and maybe it would be nice if it happens beforehand, but it's possible We've had some preliminary discussions at Badlands about the 2026 elections and whether or not we're looking at rug pulls, etc. If these new implementations haven't gone in, but it might not be an either-or scenario. You know, we often talk about like either it's going to be a rug pull or it's not going to be a rug pull. Well, could we have a scenario where a lot of states go really well because of new protocols and California is an absolute mockery in the midterms? You know, because then you put the spotlight on it, and then maybe to your point, you do actually get the legal and kind of constitutional mandate, but also the public mandate to look at this.
Thank you to Inverted World Live, who just rated the stream.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate that, you guys. That is awesome. But yeah, man. What was the other story? Oh, Tulsi. Let's talk Tulsi.
And Codex.
Do you have that story?
Related. Yeah. Well, I've got her thread, which I think is better than the stories.
Okay.
So
what'd you say was related?
Codex 9/11.
Oh,
I just think it's interesting that Tulsi, you guys probably saw, is talking about the ODNI 2.0. First of all, Jordan Sather had mentioned, and you mentioned before the show, we did have this weekend at Gart Deadwood a Future of the Intel Community panel.
I was on that panel.
Yeah, you were on that. Who was that? Jordan?
It was mostly JB, and then me, Brad, and Jordan were there too.
JB loves ODNI 1.0. Not a fan of 2.0. But
just kidding, JB. We love you, bro. We love you, bro. We're just giving you shit.
Yeah, we just give him shit. But the the discussion was about not just what's the future of the Intel community, but do we splinter it into 1,000 pieces, that sort of thing. And hey, interesting timing here. Tulsi says, today I'm launching ODNI 2.0, the first step toward bringing about transformational change that is based on cutting bloated bureaucracy, rooting out deep state actors, and restoring mission focus. So there's some other details here. It's fairly light on the details from what I was looking at, so you wouldn't like it as much because there's not a lot of details there. But they're talking about tightening this stuff up. But I think it's interesting that, in the reporting about this report, they just talk about that, they're reforming the ODNI. But Gabbard specifically says, yeah, we're going to root out deep state actors, etc. And then the only other thing that stood out to me was there was an emphasis placed on communication from the ODNI, communication processes, to the president and to congressional committees. And what I take that to mean, which is similar to what a lot of you guys were talking about on that panel, whether or not we get rid of or transform U.S. intel apparatus, this deployment by her seems to be saying the protocols and audits and communication pathway is being narrowed, and it's going to have a direct line, or rather, the president and congressional officials are going to have a direct line in to the intel agencies, which they always were supposed to. And that I think that, hey, take her at her word in terms of operating on Trump's behalf. It does seem like they are trying to reform U.S. intel, so we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, one thing I didn't really get to discuss, the panels at GART were great. They were all fantastic, in my opinion. The one thing I wish we had was more time to discuss. But we do realize the importance of the community aspect of these conferences, and so we leave plenty of time for those things to happen. One of the things we didn't really get to discuss is, like, I took the stance of just implode it all, metaphorically, the intelligence community, and let's either start new or something, or leave it all to the military. But if Trump is going to operate in the normie battle space, which he appears to do at every turn, we always question, like, hey, is he going to finally do the thing that we want him to do, or is he just going to continue down this path? He's continuing down that path. The way you fix these things that have become so bureaucratic is by removing the bureaucracy. And that's what he's done in the military in the past. He's done that with NSPM 13, where he cut the red tape for the cyber people to, like, hey, no more bureaucrats, just go directly to the SecDef. He'll give you the orders, you do your thing. He did that with special operations, with Ezra Cohen Watnick and everything in there, cutting the red tape. And they fought that, and they tried to overturn it. But now this is like that kind of move. You're taking out the bureaucracy. You're cutting the red tape within the intelligence gathering. Doing that to DNI is one thing. You got to do it across the board. And maybe they do get rid of agencies altogether. I'm totally in support of that.
Yeah.
But just yesterday, and you may have mentioned this, but Tulsi Gabbard removed the security clearances of 37 current and former people, which I think is a great start. But it left me wondering, I said this on my show, like, why are we allowing anybody to leave government intelligence agencies, go on to the private sector, sit on a board of a company making millions of dollars, and just keep their security clearance? And who knows what the fuck they're doing with that shit? Like, why is that allowed? That should be something that is removed altogether. If you're no longer working in a government role, you should no longer have your access to government secrets, our secrets, because we're not the ones paying you anymore. You're getting paid by private sector, and we don't know if they're up to, like, if they're doing anything good. They might be up to no good. They're probably up to no good in our government too, but you know what I mean? Like, that's a bullshit thing. So I think it's a good start. Remove the security clearances of those involved in Russiagate. That's what they were saying it was for. But you should remove the security clearances of anybody who leaves government sector except for former presidents. That's the only one I can get on board with.
Interestingly, and Devo related, I think, we've talked about public-private partnerships for a long time. I know Chris talks about that a lot. You've written about that quite a bit in the Devolution series.
Yeah.
And we often think about it from the angle or from the direction you just mentioned. I do agree that can't be the case moving forward. But I bet that little weapon of the enemy was exploited by patriots over the last several years, right?
For sure. Cash Patel kept his.
Ezra Cohen Watnick, all these guys. So, I'm not besmirching that. I'm saying that, hey, the door's open. We're gonna fucking use it too during this time period to trap all these efforts, and then we're gonna close the doors. And that the only other point I'd make on this is that, in some ways, the Gabbard op, it's got some flavoring of the Linda McMahon template as well. She's doing it, I think, with a bit more of a scalpel rather than a hammer, where McMahon took the steel chair from the top rope onto the Department of Education and was brought in to dismantle it. Even the mainstream media is saying that. Is Tulsi doing the same thing, to your point about intel agencies, but much more carefully? And she's taking out all of the good that is in the intel agencies, and those good guys did catch the bad guys, we're led to believe. And is she putting them into the new version of U.S. Intel, the ODNI 2.0, and she is cutting and splintering the rest of it? That's what I'm hoping for, and it feels like that's the pattern that's emerging there.
Yeah, man. I mean, and that makes sense. Like what you said there is like, okay, so the good guys do it because the tool's available. We know the bad guys do it. Makes total sense. It doesn't change the morality of it, in my opinion, but
totally
kind of same thing here. Like, you see this weaponized intelligence apparatus, you're going to use it to expose it and then kill it. I could totally see them doing that. Maybe I'm skeptical, I will say, that we will actually see the intelligence community get splintered into a million pieces and tossed to the wind. I would love to see it happen. Don't get me wrong.
We're seeing it get narrowed, is what it looks like.
Yep. Tom Terrific says, John's belief is not possible. How do new things get made if there are no clearances in industry? Maybe we can make... okay, you can have let's say you have a classified security clearance for some sort of technology. You can make a case for that. Whatever. If you're partnering with the government, but the company you're going to, whatever. But do people need classified to intelligence on certain things? Like, why are those type of things taking place? Why is somebody from the CIA with a security clearance leaving and going and sitting on a board? He's not building something. He's not building a technology. He's freaking selling state secrets.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Or making money off states. Selling it either to enemies or even just privateering, right? Which has been going on forever, which you can't have either, because that's the entire incentive structure.
We just need some of these things just need a little soft disclosure. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So we need to disclose some of this stuff.
I'd also say I want to give a shout out.
Bro? Did you take yours home with you?
I didn't take any.
Did it get mailed to you?
Oh yeah, it did. I do have some.
And you don't have it at your desk. Remember we had the whole tiff about me having the lotion at my desk that one time?
Hey man, I don't need lubrication right at my desk like you.
Whatever. Softdisclosure.com, guys. If you want to support Badlands Media and be nice and moist on the hands in the process, get yourself some soft disclosure.
You ashy. Said that a few times.
To Cam, mostly.
Yeah. Well, It's not racist if it's funny. Right?
No, I mean, most racist things are funny, I feel like.
That's true. See? We may make a Bostonian out of you yet. Anyway, there's 23,000 people watching right now, we're told. Related to this story, we got to shout out Codex 9/11 by Brad Zerbo, because the ODNI was, I believe, founded in the wake of 9/11 and the auspices, or under the auspices of a response to 9/11. Sort of seems like the intent there was the opposite, maybe, of what we were told, right? We were told, oh, we need to oversee all U.S. intelligence gathering. What you might think of in the wake of 9/11 is, we need to see what all of you intel guys are looking into before it gets to the president, so we can make sure that we know exactly who's doing the right kind of investigations around 9/11, who's maybe going off the beaten path and doing some Brad Zerbo style investigations. But I thought that this was great. Tulsi Gabbard has been dropping, to Brad and Abby were both mentioning as well, dropping a lot of 9/11 comms. We are leading up to the anniversary, and Brad Zerbo's Codex 9/11 documentary that we both watched this weekend. I've been saying online proudly and loudly, I'm not overselling it. I'm not worried about overselling it. It's the best 9/11 documentary I've seen, and I have seen at least a dozen of them over the last 20 years. So,
yeah, it's going to change the game, guys. I'm actually going to play the trailer right now. If you guys go to badlandsmedia.tv/codex911, we have a whole website, whole webpage dedicated just to this. It's got the trailer on here, a little bit about Brad, the filmmaker, some critics and viewers section, some of the comments, and then here's where you can support the film. The money all goes to Brad minus processing fees. It's the only thing that is held back to pay for the processing fees. The rest goes 100% to Brad. And so if you want to support Brad and his work on this, I'd highly encourage you to do this. And also,
shout out to the Badlands community, because you guys have been, but we haven't even had the public debut of this. We debuted it at GART, and the support for Brad for this is super cool to see. So huge shout out to everybody in the Badlands, and I'm sure that that's only going to increase.
And like I said this before, nobody deserves it more than Brad.
Yeah.
He's just such a good dude. He is, ironically, the reason Badlands was actually even created. I've kind of told that story many times, but never naming him directly. But he's one of those guys who, like, he's always had the talent. He's always been just nothing but integrity, and he's gotten the audience now, and he's getting exactly what he deserves. Here is a huge amount of praise, and this is just the beginning. Once this thing goes public, it's going to be nuts. Let's watch the trailer quick and then come back.
There was a secondary explosion, probably a device either planted before or on the aircraft that did not explode an hour later.
The peaceful villagers are blocks from the World Trade Center.
This is clearly the way the structure is collapsing. This was the result of something that was planned.
So good. So good.
And I literally teared up out of being proud for Brad and seeing the reaction that he got. And like you said, Brad is the humblest guy at Badlands. He's one of the most humble men I have met in my life. He is just heart of gold, and he has been working his ass. I didn't realize, when he'd been telling me, he's been telling us for years he's been working on this, right? Literally for years. But when a writer says that, as a writer, you're like, oh, I pick it up, I put it down. I worked on it in June, then I worked on it in August. No, Brad has been working on this for years, very heavily, and it shows. And for everybody in the audience, most of our audience has seen 9/11 documentaries. They have gone down 9/11 digs themselves. There is going to be stuff in here that you didn't know. There's going to be stuff in here that is put together in a way you've never seen it put together before. And, so Sunday night, we want the Badlands to really try to boost this thing as far as we can get it boosted, because the other point that I made at GART, I meant this as a compliment. This is extremely normie friendly. Does not come off as partisan. It makes for really huge Shatterpoint and Red Pill material, I think.
Yeah, so Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern is going to be the premiere of the documentary online on Rumble and probably YouTube. Right after that, you're going to be having him on your show, The Narrative, which you'll talk about that. And then we're also on 9/11. Excuse me. We're probably going to do a watch party, various watch parties, one here on Rumble, but there's also going to be a couple actual movie theaters we are going to have like kind of booked out. One I think is going to be in Fort Lauderdale. There's another one by Joshua Tree in Arizona that we're going to have for sure. We're looking into some other options. And when I say we, I mean some other people, and they're just like relaying that information to me. So I'm not doing any of the looking, but there's been some Badlanders who've been like all in on like, let's do this the real way, a real premiere at movie theaters, and they're pulling the trigger on it. So it's going to be cool. I think this is one of those things that just needs to, once you show it to one person, the right person, and it goes absolutely gangbusters. And I think we're going to get it in front of a couple of the right people here. So it's going to be great.
You've said this over the weekend, but there was a lot of not a lot, I should say, but there was a few normie beta tests at GART.
Yeah.
A few significant others or friends of Badlanders that attended Deadwood, or that we were told by virtual ticket buyers, like, oh, I showed my brother, I showed my sister, and they are saying, you know, it is provoking questions, and that is what it's designed to do. So it's fantastic. And I had said this as well on Saturday or whenever we watched it. It's not just that it exposes the lies around the official narrative. We've seen a lot of that before. It's that Brad ties it into, he gives you the other side of that. He admits that he might not be right, but it's not one of those documentaries that's just like, hey, the official narrative is false, I have nothing else to leave you with. It's the official narrative is false, here's what might have been going on. And that whole section of it is just, it's great.
Yeah, I misspoke. Joshua Tree is in California. I actually had no idea. I just knew Joshua Tree, and I knew it was out west, and I think I said Arizona.
You just made it up.
Joshua Tree, wherever that is, there's a movie theater around there somewhere. We'll put out details on that stuff. That'll be closer to 9/11 though. On 9/11,
we need a White House premiere.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'll work on that one. How about we? Do you want to check if we got any boosts?
Yes, I was looking through all of the support for Brad to find the boosts, but I did find a boost from last week. 1027JS sent $20 over, said happy birthday, BB, happy guarding to everyone who's there. And then we did get one for tonight. It's 1027JS again, who said just thanks for tonight's show for 20
Thank you, Joe. Fellow North Dakota.
Much appreciated.
Awesome. Also, I was thinking for an outro video, you could pull up your post from GART, how you capped it, and share your screen. Okay. We'll play that. Some rants here. We got Snowcat Operator, now a monthly supporter. It's good to see you and your pup at GART. Got a couple pictures, I think, of the little
Leah. She's the goat.
Yeah, she's giving me some kisses. It was great. It's awesome. It's a cute dog. So well behaved too. So cool. Anyway, thank you, Snowcat. Good to see you, man. Mindy Q, this is for the ghost of Patrick Montage, Lean on Me. It's a link to the song Lean on Me. So that is
it's a good one. That's a good song for him.
Great song for him. That's funny. Rocky Top Apologist. I've got a cousin watching you guys for the first time tonight. She's a base lady in a normie world, but she needs to come over to Badlands. Hi, Robin. Hey, Robin.
Have her watch Codex.
Have her watch Codex, but this show is also a good thing to watch. I appreciate that. Mindy Q, do you think Amish people are Jewish or Illuminati or something because they get to live the way they want without getting killed like the American Indians did? Zach may know about this. That's above my pay grade.
Yeah, I don't even know where to go with that one.
I don't know either. So, but thank you for the rant. Dragonfly Sister for $100. Started a little late, but I'm laughing so hard at the GART pictures. The black and white, it's perfect of everyone. And BB's comparison to a Russian, totally awesome.
And I did not choose that. Like I said, I was handed that getup.
Yeah.
Meant to be.
Meant to be.
By a very abrasive young woman.
She was 16. She was like yelling at all of us. It was really uncomfortable.
Screaming at us. Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah. It was funny, though. Angie K, you mentioned Solomon didn't put the docs in the article. Actually, you have to go to the Dig Deeper tab, and all docs are there. I think I addressed that earlier. And also, did you see the article he just put out at 8 p.m. tonight? I think that's the article we talked about. But thank you, Angie K. Nobody777, thanks for a great weekend. I'm having a watch party for Brad's show on Sunday at my home in Mille Lacs Lake, Minnesota. Great show this week, gentlemen.
It's just an open invite to everybody in the Badlands.
Yep.
Like,
just need your address, bro. We'll be there. But yeah, I'd encourage you all to watch it. It's gonna be great. Tam J1116 says, to BB's point, hubby is MAGA. I've been telling him about Ukraine for years. He still thinks Putin is an evil dictator that wants it all.
MAGA normies is a real thing. They're just bushies who like Trump.
Lots of them out there too. Tam J1116 again says, to John's point, hubby has no idea the real reasons Putin went in. He believes what he is told on Fox. Ooh, one of those. He also doesn't believe me about Ukraine and the real evils and corruption there. Well, he'll find out.
I think so.
Babbage 3, tonight's a ghost meme. Ooh, I can't wait. Love the Babbage ghost memes. I also should check if we got anything over on YouTube. Let me do that real quick. We do. We got X Piece X says YouTube support for $5. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Babbage is now just seeing her in the chat. Always reminds me to check YouTube. This is what it says: machine maker slush funds, slushy making machines.
Ghost has some really interesting, as a gesture oriented person, he's got me beat. He's got some interesting gestures.
He does not have your leg shaking beat though.
No, I got him beat there.
You definitely do. Stronger Now says, I love the show. You guys are so informative. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then All the Way 307 says, you guys are cool. But Brad is a legend. Can't wait until Sunday at 6. Thank you for that.
I'll accept being besmirched in favor of Brad. Yeah, and as
that
John
as well.
said, after, so the documentary is like 2.5 hours, and it does not feel like that. You're going to be glued to it the whole time. Right afterwards, 20 minutes afterwards, take a pee break, come and join us on the narrative at 9 p.m., and we're just going to go all Codex 9/11. I want to really dig, and John had a great Q&A with him at GARP, but we're just going to dig a bit deeper and get into, you know, how he kind of put it all together, and maybe some rabbit holes that aren't in the documentary that we can go into on the narrative. So that should be fun.
Heck yeah. All right, man. You got that video? I'll share your screen.
I do, even though you sent it to me like it's on a potato. It's like 27p.
You just want to share your Twitter post?
Yeah. The video is very low res, but it should work.
Oh. My bad.
Yeah.
Are you sure it's not because you're at
you
airport?
texted it to me, and then I had to email it to myself because I didn't have service.
Oh, well, so it's your fault, not mine.
It could be. I don't know, man. It's a small file, even on my phone.
Oh, whatever.
I think you sent it in potato form.
Okay,
Anyway,
whatever. Just
it'll
play the
work.
video. Okay. See ya.
All right.
See you, everybody. Hit that thumbs up. See you tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern on the Daily Herald.
I'd close with just saying something I'm really proud of at Badlands, and I'm very biased about this, and make our comments, and there's disagreements, etc. People come and go. We have our opinions of other people. They have their opinions of us. Something I'm really solidified in, and I think most people here are, is for everybody that talks about the plan and the Patriot plan, at Badlands, we do not believe in passivity. We all have strong disagreements with each other about various topics, as you see at all of these guards. But the idea that we are sometimes framed as not believing in the plan, when I think that we as a community are the only ones pushing the plan forward at all, is absolutely absurd. And Codex 9/11 is a great example of that. It doesn't matter if there's a Patriot plan of disclosure and all this kind of stuff. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But it is, G-Money would call that a domesticated point of view, and he's absolutely right. We don't wait for permission to find the truth, not even from Donald Trump or Kash Patel or Pam Bondi or Q Drops from 2017, okay? We get to decide what we talk about
We get to decide what kind of future we want to build. And lately, the only people trying to hold the truth community back are people in the truth community, and fuck that.
Closing thoughts?
Quick closing thoughts, yeah. Well, I just want to say thank you all for coming. I think this was a great GART. I've had a blast. Great to see so many familiar faces who have come back time after time. I want to thank Mrs. Bright for all the hard work she does to put these on. And then I want to thank the great John Herold for putting Badlands together, for being the guiding force of what we do. And he has to take an ungodly amount of shit from a bunch of degenerate liars nonstop. And he takes it with a smile on his face and good humor. And I love him, and I know that you guys all love him. So thank you, John.